It's an ending. I think that changes must be pending, though they are upending the bedrock of my life. It's unending. These mixed up signals you keep sending, frequencies are ending and driving in the knife. I get to the end to find that there's still more. It's just a loop that runs right through my door and brings me back again. Said it brings me back again. I tried turning pages, but the stream of nonsense, it still rages. Seems I'm locked in my own cages, even though I hold the key. I keep seeing places I know I've been before. It's just a loop that runs right through my door and brings me back again. Said it brings me back again. No matter how things change, they still remain the same. Feel like a pawn caught up in a madman's game that brings me back again. Said it brings me back again. Yeah, it brings me back again. Ah, it brings me back again.
All right, very nice.
All right.
Welcome to the latest episode of Rich and Wibo Present the Local Artist Show. Today's guest is a guitarist, singer, keyboardist, songwriter, and voice actor. He currently has 3 studio albums, 2 live albums, and several singles. His music can also be heard on the Elmwood production series, The Risley Brothers, and also the Elmwood production latest feature, Bernice 2. So please welcome the extremely talented and the extremely versatile Robert C. Fullerton to the Local Artist Show. How are you, Robert? Oh, wait, can't hear you. Lost your volume. Nope, still lost you. Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Nope.
I'm interviewing Marcel Marceau, the great mime. This is what the Local Artist Show used to look like before we had talkies. Is he still singing?
Still singing.
I don't know. Can he even hear us?
All right, how?
There you go.
Yeah,
All right.
I can hear. How about now?
Now it sounds great.
You back.
Okay,
You back.
yeah.
You back. You back.
This, it's life in the digital age,
Oh yeah. Yeah, anything
There's
can
nothing
happen.
like being in the radio station, or
I feel like the flying Melendez. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
yeah,
We're walking that tightrope.
At least you guys did it right. There was no dead space. You kept talking. I could hear you, but yeah. Every once in a while, I'm
Just a
running
minute.
through my laptop, and it's like it overloads, and it kind of goes, nope, sorry, I'm not doing it anymore. You have got to give me a break here.
Overload. Abort
give me
mission.
a-
Abort mission.
Give me a break here. Yeah, cool. No, thanks. It's great. Thanks for asking me to be on the show.
Oh
You're
yeah.
welcome. Thank you.
Let's do a little promotion for you. That was a great song. Was that one of your originals?
That is one of my originals, and that is 9 times, well, actually, probably about 9.8 times out of 10, my opener when I do a show of any
Mm.
sort. It's just, people just got kind of a swampy feel, that
Yeah.
swampy Delta feel to it. Yeah, and it's just it's one where I play it and you can see people that, the
Oh yeah.
shoulders and the head starts to bob a little bit to the music. And, anytime you can do that, that's a good tune, good tune to
Yeah.
start with. So
I couldn't even control myself. It just happened automatically. It's like, all
Like a
right.
rattle.
yeah, so like I said, 9.9 times out of 10, I will start with that song. So that's why I did it tonight.
What's it called?
Back again.
Back again. And you know what? You
Yeah.
were on my old show at Nutmeg Chatter. So you are back again here in the local artist show. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's right. It's interesting. It's on my my second studio album called Let It Rain. And it was the first song I wrote for it. And it was just kind of like the relationship idea, those kind of things where like, I keep, I try to get away and I try to come back. And it's like no matter what, there's always that sense of like, yeah, I can't get away. I can't come back. And it's like, oh, jeez.
It's like a little purgatory for you in the middle of both.
Yeah.
Watch
Yeah,
out.
Dante's relationships. Yeah.
I love it. Well, speaking of performances and playing music, I want to talk about your most recent performance that I saw anyway. It was on Sunday at Sasso's. I've seen you many times, but I just love your performances because you do such a great eclectic mix. I mean, I wrote down some of the bands that you played just at one show. You went from, of course, your originals, then you did Michael Jackson, Adele, Men at Work, The Doors, Beatles, Van Morrison, and so many more. And here's what impressed me most about you, because this happened to me several times. I'm over, you're playing the music, I'm actually singing the lyrics. And I said, what song is that? Because you have such a great arrangement. You make the song your own. I'm rocking to it. I know the lyrics, and I'm like, oh my God, wait, that's Get Back by the Beatles. Wait, that's Van Morrison. That happened to me, at least, the one that happened to me the most was Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. I'm singing a song. I said, what is this song? And then as soon as you started singing the chorus, wait a minute. So that is a huge compliment coming from me, because I love the fact people have heard these songs for so long, but you take the song, make it your own, and it's great.
Well,
Good.
well, I do appreciate tribute bands, and that's the big thing right now.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work that goes into not often just looking like, but doing your best to look like the artist that you're covering and to sound exactly like them. While I do appreciate that, I could never do that. That is not me. I want a song, if I'm covering someone else's song, I want it to be the way I feel it. And it's like particularly this way. I really enjoyed that you were talking about the other day at Sassa's, a Sunday brunch, because I can be, when you play a Friday gig or a Saturday gig, especially late night, everybody wants you to like be pumping everybody up and and that's not me. I want to, a little touch of mellow, a little touch of blue, a little touch of soul, and just like, to me, it's like Sunday brunch. I'm sorry, I'm not ready for that. I want to be relaxed, and I want my music to be relaxed, and I want, to just like, just like people like let's ease into the day. This is Sunday, let's just ease there. And generally that's how I tend to perform. At some places where I've played and there's like, oh wow, you're really good, you're talented, but you just, we want people like bouncing up and down in their seats and their bar stools. And I may have a couple songs like that, but like for all in all, it's like, I'm sorry. When I do, what was it? I think I can't remember. Were we talking about it afterwards? The Beatles songs. Excuse me. I've Just Seen a Face. I slow it down and I make it kind of bluesy. So I want to do a song how I feel it. It'll still have the melody. It'll still have the words, but it's just like I'm going to take it and put my feel there. So
what else? I love how you are just by yourself, you, the guitar, and the mic, and the audience. But then I had the chance to see you, probably for the only time out of all the times I've seen you, at Red Room Sound Studio. You played with a band. And I loved that as well because it had the fillers and it had the drums, the bass, I mean, everything together. And that sounded great too. So I love the fact you can just go into a room with just a microphone and a guitar, sound great, but then you can also jam with a band, and both times they sound great. What do you prefer?
Well, yes.
Okay.
That's the answer. Yes. Actually, yeah. Actually, it's really interesting because that was a great night. That was a fun night. And that was the first time I've done one of those. I've known them for a while, but that was kind of fun to do. Back before COVID, because Never Too Late, I did the first studio album. I did totally by myself. Everything you hear on that is me. The Let It Rain album, which was next in the studio, I did the guitars, I did the bass, I did a couple of the, a couple piano tracks, but then I started to bring in some other people, especially drums. I mean, that's its whole thing. And, that's not my thing. So I did that. I had brought some other vocals in, Angela Luna, Gracie Day. I had them come in and do some tracks for me, some other people and some group vocals, Isaac Young on keys, and so that was nice. And my whole plan with same thing with Long Time Coming. I had some other people, but again, as time went on, it's so my whole plan and one of the reasons I ended up in the studio I did, which had a big live room, was I had a band all assembled. We hadn't even practiced, but I had all the people chosen. I had talked with them. We were all set. And we were going to go in. And this was before, the Let It Be documentary came out, where it's just go in a room, play, and do take after take until you find the thing you want. That's what I wanted to do. And I had a keyboardist, I had another guitarist, I had a bassist, I had a drummer all picked out. And actually the keyboard player, a guy named Jeffrey Baratko with a band called Streetlight Shakers, he was going to be my keyboard player. And I said, oh man, hey, can you come and do Monday, blah, 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 October, whatever it was. And he said, oh, that's my band rehearsal night. I can't do it. And I thought for a second, I said, can you bring them? So he talked to them. We went in and we did 2 songs. We did exactly like that. We did like 7 takes of one, like pause in between, talking out, working out a couple of things. We did 6 or 7 of the other song and recorded them. And I felt pretty good with that. My guitar and my vocals were just what we call scratch. They were going to be tossed in the end and re-recorded. And of course, like I said, that was October. And it's like, okay, it takes money to record. It's come around. And the next thing you know, boom, here's COVID. And, so that comes around. And then last year, maybe around into summer, I went in the studio. I re-recorded my vocal. No, I didn't re-record my vocals. I re-recorded my guitar track, did a couple other electric guitar tracks over it, called Jeffrey Baratko of Streetlight Shakers. And then my friend Gracie Day from Mass to come down and said, will you guys sing with me on this song? And we did it kind of like we're doing right now. We were standing in a circle, 3, 4, 5 feet apart, facing each other as we sang. And we recorded the vocals for it. I Don't Mind That I Can't Get You Off My Mind and Friday Night Socialite. So it was like really over 2 years from start to finish, mostly because of COVID. And then there's that whole money thing, But yeah, that was the whole thing. My whole goal with that, and I still want to get back to it, is of me not doing everything, which is kind of where I ended up with this project in between, the Prone to Wander. But, like I said, the people I chose for a reason, because either partly their musical skills, but also how I connect with them as human beings and musicians. One guy I'd heard him play before, but it's like he had this Instagram site called the Church of Sound, I think is what he calls it. And he'll just post like about all these old retro albums and talk about why he loves them. And I said, I love this dude, you know, and he's a killer player on top of bass player. And it's like, okay, I want to do something with this guy, even if it's just this one project. So coming back to, do I enjoy playing by myself? It's a lot less practice. And I argue less with myself. And I can, you know, and I can shift on the fly. Finding musicians that you can do that with, you know, without playing together a lot, practicing a lot together, is not always easy. I'm fortunate to have known some people. There's a drummer I've worked with over the years on gigs where it's like, I know when we're playing, if I can make eye contact with him, he can kind of almost sense what I'm thinking, you know. So I like both. Long answer to a short question. I really do.
Well, it's probably easier with a band to make a mistake where nobody notices. When you're up there on stage by yourself, you think that you've been doing this for so long, you're probably over it by now, but every little thing, they're like, oh my God, they heard this, but just keep on going.
That is the one great thing about live music as opposed to recorded music.
Yeah.
Live, if you make a mistake, even if they heard it, boom, it's gone. You know, it's like the rest of the song, it's the next song, it's the experience, and you'll remember it. You'll remember it, but people listening won't. Whereas if it's recorded and you leave a mistake in, for the rest of your life, you're going,
yeah.
Oh, I should have fixed that. I
What
should have
was I
fixed that. I
thinking?
can't
Why
believe I let that go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell, I interview a lot of musicians, and we always talk about this. I said, I would rather have a band have fun live and make mistakes instead of trying to be so technically correct, so serious. If I want to hear the CD or stream it or the DVD, whatever it is, I can go home and listen to that. But I want to go to a show. I want to have some fun. I want to bop around. I want to sing. I want to dance. And that's what I like with you. It's like, even at Sasso's, as you said, during brunch, people were maybe eating, but nobody lost their attention span. Everybody was like, hey, all right. And everybody was paying attention to you because it's great music. And you, like, as I mentioned, you do great arrangements of classic songs.
Oh, thank
So
you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's just, I prefer when a musician is human instead of like being so technically correct all the time. It's like, you made a mistake, and then you can make a joke out of it. And then people, like, I think, or even endear you even more. They love you even more. But it's like, all right.
Well, you know,
So
that's one thing that even in recording, I'm not talking about mistakes as such.
Yeah.
But especially in this digital age, like when you're working with MIDI instruments, where it's a keyboard interacting with your musical instrument digital interface, and you can quantize things to make them like perfectly on the beat, you know. And I've heard some people say, it's like, you know what, I don't want to hear mistakes, but I love being able to hear the human element of a song, that there is some fluctuation, there is some like liberty, not rigidity to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I don't feel like I'm listening to machines making music. That is those are human beings there. And yeah.
You know, it's funny because I was in radio for a while, and I interned with a guy named Lich, who was a famous DJ. He actually was the overnight guy when Howard Stern was at WCCC back in 1979. Okay. And he was on CCC, PLR, HCN, all of those stations. But the program, I interned for him before I became a DJ.
Cool.
And the program director used to always say, he goes, Lich, if you want your show to be perfect, come in an hour earlier and record it, which I think is funny because that's how they do shows now. But he goes, what? Just once in a while, will you like go, will you like cough or something? Let people know you're human. And he was saying the same thing. I always remembered that in radio. And years ago, I was in bands too, and I just had that same attitude I have now. Just like, that's when I have fun. And everybody used to say the same thing. I just come to see what you're going to do next. I used to, because it was more of a metal band. So it's, we had a song called Mental Hospital. So I'd come running out in a straight jacket, things like that. It was just fun. And so it's just, but people, and people still remember that. They don't remember the name of the band I was in. They don't remember with the songs. They remember like, hey, aren't you the guy in the straight jacket? And that was 1988. So it's just
Yeah.
I just like, I always had that mentality. It's like, I want to go to a show and I want to have fun. I mean, I want to sound good too. And I want to hear a band sound good. But yeah, it's just, and I can't stand also, you were making a great point where they record it so carefully, make sure, and sometimes they record it where you cannot possibly sing it like that live. So why would you want to, you go to a show and you're like, oh, he's horrible. Not that, because they made it sound so good in the studio and the vocals can never be matched live.
Yeah. And I mean, it is one thing. And it's like, it's always trying to find that balance between, okay, as radio, you were talking about like training and interning and whatever. You're always taught the ultimate cardinal sin is silence, letting space go for so long. And that's why sometimes if I'm pondering, I do have to go, but I need to make that noise. So there is that there's a human element, but there's also the professional element to it. And yeah, musically it's still about finding that balance. And for me, it's like I want to be considered by people that hear me, that see me, whatever, as that guy's a professional. He knows what he's doing. But yet it's again, I also, you want to have that where people feel they can connect with you. You know, whether it's the meaning of a song, it's whatever, it's being able to make a joke, it's this or that, you know. Yeah, it's important.
I think for you, this is my experience watching you, is where people connect most with you is not only do you have jokes in between the songs and you tell a little bit about the song, but what I really love is I learned so much about music just listening to your show. And I'll give you an example. I'm watching the show the other day and you said, who here is a fan of Robert Zimmerman? And everybody's like, what? And then I realized you started, he wrote this classic song. You started playing All Along the Watchtower. Later found out that Robert Zimmerman's real name or his stage name is Bob Dylan.
Yep.
And I never even knew he wrote All Along the Watchtower, which is made famous by Jimi Hendrix, Dave Matthews, and so many other people. But I always thought it was a Jimi Hendrix song. So I think that for you, I love the fact that it's funny, informative, and just good music. So like it's almost like going to a class. I love it.
It's interesting. I've only actually discovered this guy recently, maybe within the last year or two tops. His name is Tom Snyder, SNI instead of YDER. And he's this guy, he's kind of like a Texan Arlo Guthrie, I like to think of him as. And so he talks like with his accent like this, and he says this kind of thing. He says, like, you know, he said, you guys come around and you listen to me, and I know some of you come to my concert here and my concert there, and you'll hear me tell this story about the song. And he goes, then you'll come back 2 months later somewhere else and I'll tell a totally different story about it. But it's like, yeah, there is a certain element, whether your shtick is comedy, informative, what it was like, there is, again, it's coming back to that same thing of like, there needs to be a human element to the performance, you know, which is why some gigs I really don't like, because I feel like I'm just being a human radio up here, you know, and
you know, I know what you mean, but I actually enjoy it. So
thanks.
But I know sometimes probably you're just like, I just want to sit here and play my songs. Don't even want to be bothered. But it's like I've seen you probably at least 6-7 times, and you sort of like the person you just talked about. Every show is different, I think.
Well,
you play different songs.
I get tired of myself sometimes. No, and that's why I really, you know, either whether it's writing my own songs or pulling up, I don't know if you were there yet, but I know I did a couple songs the other day that it's like, I have never done this, or I haven't done this in a long time. And I need to, you know, and that's for me as far as like, especially covering songs. I cover a song because I love it, you know, and it's like, I really, it's like, oh, that's a killer song. And actually it is original song. It's just not my original, you know, but for somebody else that was like, yeah. And for me to be able to take something and go, oh, I want to feel this song. I want to, get into it and just really pill out what it's about and give it to you.
We appreciate that. There's somebody else I want to talk about because something else I learned, the name J.J. Cale.
Oh yeah. Oh, J.J. Cale. I think we talked about him in that car that time. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the songs, he was one of these people that was content to just, I want to write some songs, I want to record them, but if I don't make it big, I'm not going to make it big. Eric Clapton recorded several of his songs: After Midnight, Cocaine, Magnolia. Who was that? Oh, who was that other band?
Skinner, I
Song,
think you said.
They Call Me the Breeze.
Skinner.
I keep rolling down the road. Was that the Outlaws? I can't remember who that was.
I
But
thought that was Skinner. I could be wrong, but I thought it was Leonard Skinner.
But whoever it was, he wrote all those songs. I mean, when you listen to his versions, it's like, okay, this is cool. This is not like high quality production, but it's good. And it's like, people as a songwriter, which is why I really do appreciate, John Bristol and Elmwood Theater, like I said,
Great guy, very talented.
And on Risley Brothers and on the new movie. It's like, I really appreciate those opportunities. And as a songwriter, I love performing and I love doing my songs when people are ready to listen. But it's like you always kind of just, it's like, oh, geez, maybe this will be the song that, someone famous will record. Or it's like it'll make a commercial and people will go, oh, I dig that song. And you go, I wrote that. It's like, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I dig that song,
Speaking of John Bristol, the great founder of Elmwood Productions and also our editor of the local artist show.
Those guys are so cool. Those guys are so cool. And
yeah, they are. Did he approach you and say, I want one of your songs, or did you write those songs specifically for the Risley Brothers and Bernice too?
With Risley, whichever pronunciation, I never know. They one of the guys that works with them, I'm pretty sure, is he met me through Keith Paul, or else we had met on Facebook, but I think it was through one of the guys that he's done work with them as far as one of the puppeteers and voice actors. And he had heard, I think it was Ed McMahon, my song Ed McMahon.
Yeah.
Was the first connection with them, and they used that in the what am I looking for?
The movie?
Your first one.
Risley Brothers.
Yeah, no, but your first one that you make your pilot.
Pilot, yeah.
They used that, and then they used several songs, and then it's like there was that one little clip from my song Hard to Be Gone that became the theme song at the beginning and the end of each one. So yeah, and that was kind of cool. They asked me, and I said, are you kidding me? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And then let's see, the premiere was, how long ago was that? I can't even remember.
February 18th.
Okay, February. So towards the end of last year, Rich Passmore approached me and said, oh, there's a song you've got, instrumental song called Afternoon Reflection. We want to use that in our new movie. Is that cool? And I said, yeah. I said, if you become rich and famous off of it, then we'll talk about money. But otherwise, you owe me a beer or something, So, yeah.
It's funny. I can't remember the whole story, but I'm going to paraphrase the story. There was the movie Wayne's World with Mike Myers and Dana Carvey. I guess in the original version of the movie, they played a Zeppelin song. And Zeppelin's like, I don't really care if you use it. They thought it was just going to be a stupid movie that didn't make it. The movie made so much money. Zeppelin said, well, since I guess it has to be over 45 seconds and then they're owed money. So for the versions after that, which are on TV and cable, they have to play another song because Zeppelin wanted money and they didn't want to pay them for some reason. But I'm laughing because of Zeppelin, I don't think they're really broke. Do they really care if somebody used
No.
Stairway to Heaven in a movie? But yeah, I can't remember which song they play now, but I was reading that article recently where they were like, yeah, you can have this song. Nobody's going to care. And then it became a big hit. They're like, all right, where's our part of the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. And again, that's the thing that like you always, if it doesn't happen, I at least know I tried.
Exactly.
I tried. And I have like done what I can, or at least I think I've done what I can to chase my dreams. But even if there's always that chance that is like 0.001% of a chance, you cross your fingers and you keep going. It's like, use my song. Use my song. So,
probably know the story of Rodney Dangerfield. He was an up and coming comedian. He never made. He goes, if I don't make it by the age of 40, I'm giving up. Age 40, he was nobody, so he went back to selling tiles or whatever job he had. It was, and so he always kept on writing jokes. At age 60, he said, "Let me try it again." He came out with the whole "no respect" shtick. And the rest is history. So he just gave it up, and he always wanted to do. He always had that passion, and he said, "Let me just give it one more shot." And bam, it took off. So you never know. I mean, age 60, that's when he became popular.
Yeah,
and famous.
My goal is fame by 93.
Well, you know what's funny? I interviewed. You probably know him as a musician, Jimmy Bell. All right, so I interviewed him, and he said he always had a goal. He goes, "If I don't make it by 30, I'm quitting." Then 30 came, right, 35. All right, 35, 40. If I don't make it by 40. He goes, now I'm 62, and I just got into the band Autograph. So he's done so much over the years. But yeah, he said, he goes, every time I could give myself another 5 years, I don't make it by then. But he never gave up. And I said, I'm so glad that you never did give up. And he's having a time in his life right now. He's playing in a band that's playing all over the world since COVID lifted its restrictions for the most part. So he's loving it. So I love what you're doing. I just, as you said, you never know when that might happen, but you're having fun anyway. You're having fun what you do. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't, but at least you're going down trying.
You know, that was the whole thing behind naming my first, I like to say my first solo album, Never Too Late. I was this old. I was not young when I recorded that. And it was like the whole idea is like, I mean, hold on, I have to.
Right, please, Wibo, release the subtitles, or John, when you're editing this. Let's see if the mouth matches the movement. We don't have anything yet, Robert.
All right.
There we go. All right. We're back to the Local Artist Show featuring Rich and Wibo.
All right.
Robert C. Fullerton was saying.
Whoa, this is really strange. I don't know what's going on picture-wise. I'm seeing you in one corner of my okay.
I can say on my end, it's exactly the same as it was before. Whoa.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Let there
be light.
Yeah, light.
Okay. I don't know what's going. Yeah, I just changed the screen, so it's like there's a white screen on my computer.
Oh.
And where were we?
You were talking
about now.
You were talking about when you came out with your first solo album at this age.
I was not young, and that was the whole thing. Like, I mean, all those days, like as a high school kid, you know, late junior high, having grown up listening to the Beatles and all of that, it's like, I want to be a rock star, you know. Yeah. And then life and quote unquote reality comes along, and you do all the stuff you should do, and blah 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 blah. As I got to this point in his life, is, you know what? I'm on my own. My kids are grown. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. And that's like, you know, that was the whole thing. It was like, it's just like, yeah, I gotta follow my dream. I gotta try. And if I make it, oh, that's cool. But if I don't, it's like, yeah, I'm going for it. I am trying this, you know. So
well, I love this quote. It's going to the fact that like I'd rather fail at something that I love instead of succeeding at something that I really could care less about, meaning that like I'd rather go down doing everything I can. If I don't make it, well, at least I gave it my best shot, instead of like, well, you know what, I can get a great job, make tons of money, but I'm going to be miserable. I'm comfortable, but I'm really not happy. So I'd rather have a life like yours where I'm doing what I love. Maybe it's not as comfortable and maybe not as, the money isn't as good as it could be with some other things, but you won't be as happy. And you meet so many great people at these shows you go to, and you probably don't even realize the life that you changed with your songs, or just something you said, and something they heard some of your lyrics and said, wow, that means a lot to me. So it's just, I think that I love your attitude. And now is the perfect time to do it. Like you said, you really don't have the responsibilities that you had before. You have more time if you're not working as much, because the older you get, hopefully you can have a chance to retire and you can work less if that is possible. It's not gonna be possible for me, but that's another story. Just that I think that now is the perfect time where you can concentrate on what you want to do and you don't have to worry about anybody else.
Yeah, it's like now is all you have. Whether now is at 20 or now is at 70 or now is at whatever, you don't have any guarantee beyond that. So it's like, yeah, there is this whole thing of being responsible and whatever else, but it's like also, yeah, I have to work the day job. I at least work a day job that I generally enjoy,
Yeah.
and and that's nice, and that's what pays the bills. But it's like, yeah, the ability to say, you know what, I am at least going to give it a shot. And I was like, I've worked all my life. I started playing guitar when I was 12. I probably did less homework than I should have because I sat in my room playing guitar, and doing all these other things, do this to study, to learn. It's like, yeah, I'm one of those weird people that I actually enjoy learning things, and especially, when it comes to music, that's, a definite, but it's like, yeah, I now is what you've got. Now is all you've got,
It's a great song title.
Well, actually, I do have a song called Now.
Okay.
But it's not necessarily the positive, it's about a relationship thing, so.
You know what, I like what you said, because so many people that I know anyway, I think live the life that's expected of them, not what they want to do, because they're so worried about what everybody else is thinking. Oh, I'm too old for this, I can't do that. First of all, if you're not neglecting your responsibilities and you're doing what you have to do to survive, why can't you do something fun? Just because you reach a certain age doesn't mean you're going to have to crawl up in a ball and die. Just live your life, have fun, and who cares about what anybody else is thinking? Because those people are probably wishing they could do what you're doing. Instead of worrying about what they're thinking of you, if you go and do your thing, they're going to be like, wow, I wish I could do that. So I see a lot of people in my circle where they're more living the life that's expected of them instead of doing what they want to do, which is sad.
Yeah, and again, I guess it does really come back to that whole balance thing of like, especially if, like for me, you get married and you have kids. Well, you better be accountable and responsible. But it's like, I don't know if things have been different. Would I have been one of those people that would have been content to just like never marry and never have kids? But that's not a reality. So it's like for you.
Oh. No, it's breaking up again.
How about now?
That's perfect.
All right.
I hear me.
Yep,
I hear me.
We hear you.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, so there is all this balance. So for me, it was like, once I got to that part of my life, I mean, I could have done this, and I did as my kids got older and were still at home. But then once they were grown and on their own, and I ended up divorced, it was like, okay, this is like, for me, the perfect time. If I fail, I don't hurt anybody but me. And actually, I'm probably not hurting myself, I might be poor, but not hurting myself, So it's, and it's different for everybody. I admire people who go for it when they're younger. I admire people who have spouses, partners, whatever, who are supportive and are like going, oh, they're probably going, yeah, get the hell out of here. Just like, I don't want to see you for a while. Go chase your dream. Go do this. What do you need for support? What do you need for help? I really, I don't want to say
Mm.
I'm envious, but it's like I'm happy for those people. So, for me, it was waiting till I was after a certain age. But here I
Like,
am. Like I
I'm
said,
I'm 53 years old, and right now I'm having the time of my life. I
yeah.
mean, besides, I'm sure you know most of the things we're going to talk about later. I work with Nutmeg Junction. I do
Hmm.
this show. I do the Claus Corner. I wrote a book. I did stand-up comedy. I was in
Yeah.
bands years ago. So I mean, I have so many interests, and I still have to work a full-time job, but I know how to use time management. It's like, well, you know what? Let me do
Mm.
an hour with this, an hour, whatever the time management is. I can make time for everything I want to do because, as somebody told me, like, Rich, if you really want to do it, you can find the time. Instead of making excuses, you can make the time. And it's so
It's
true.
true, true.
I've never, there's
Yeah.
sometimes I'm more tired than others, but I always find the time to get things done and I'm having the best time.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. And it's like, I guess it's being older. It's like, oh God, I don't have good legs. I'm not young. I don't have all these things, and it's like sometimes it's tough to not be envious of like some of these younger kids. I hate using the term, but there are a few years between me and them, and you see them going after what they are, and it's like, oh, one, I want to go, yeah, go for it while you can, but I'm also going, oh, man, if I were that young, if I were that young, I, don't- I have to be good. I have to work hard to be good because I don't have looks and all youth and all that stuff on my side. So that's a plus, I guess. Yeah.
Mm.
Generalizing when I say this, but I think when you're older, you can appreciate it more than most younger people today. And I said I'm generalizing,
Hmm.
just want instant gratification, want instant success. They want to go on one of these reality shows. They want to become an overnight sensation. They want to do
True,
a world
true.
tour. They don't want to put in the time and grow their sea legs and learn from experiences and become better. And maybe 10 years down the road, become a much better and more mature musician or whatever craft they're doing. We're talking about musicians right now. So I
Mm.
think when you're older, you appreciate it more and you're also better because you have that, again, the maturity to say, you know what, I've learned a lot. And it actually probably, if you're writing original songs, it'll reflect in your songwriting because you have so much more to write about because you've actually had a life that you can reflect on and write about.
Mm. There's an old saying that Ringo Starr turned into a song. Got to pay your dues if you want to sing the blues, and it don't come easy. Yeah, so I mean, it's like, but it's like on the other hand, I really do appreciate it. I have a couple of friends, well, several friends. Most of my friends are younger. Everybody's younger than me, it seems these days.
Mm.
But friends who are in their early 30s in that general vicinity. A lot of my friends, musical and not, but it's like I love connecting with them, and it's like, um, if maybe in some ways, even if I don't ever achieve that, I don't want to use the word fame, but yeah, that level of whatever it is that where I would really think would be cool, then if not, maybe I can help somebody else do that, you know?
Mm.
Uh, yeah. And it is really, and plus it's like, you never know. Sometimes it's like you get the perspective of somebody's longer and you're going, oh, huh. I wow, I would have never thought of that.
Yeah.
Because we do sometimes get fixed in our ways, but it's like
Mm.
also it's like I love having friends that there are a couple in particular that are very passionate about their music, and it's like to be able to sit and just talk, particularly one on one.
Mm.
It's like, oh, this this is life. This is like invigorating, to sit and just talk about it. So
Well, that's a great segue because I wanted to talk about At one time, you and a friend wanted to start a podcast.
Mm.
And it was
Well, that's the other ones I'm talking about is like, and I don't know that I've even talked about it. It's just like, but we used to go place down the street, a restaurant / bar, and it'd be like we'd go on like some middle to be like a Tuesday or a Monday. It's one of the those horrible nights, and we go say, hey, let's meet, sit talking, and we'd have a drink and we'd start talking about music. And next thing you know, it was 3 hours later, and whether it was talking about what we were doing musically, but it would run the whole gamut. And again, this is time. This is one of the guys. He's in his younger 30s, great musician, professionally trained, has done whole range, everything from classical to, contemporary. And, oh God, we'd talk about the Beatles. He'd tell me about people he knew that he'd introduce me to new artists and new songs. I'd introduce him to, well, new to him.
yeah.
But there's one time I remember we were sitting, it was another part, we were on my porch, and this was like probably midnight. And we were sitting there, we had just finished off either a bottle of wine or something, and we're talking. And it's like, oh, have you ever heard this song? Oh, Midnight at the Oasis by Maria Muldaur.
Oh, that song.
Oh, it's a killer song.
Yes.
And he's like, what? It's just hold on. And I picked up my phone and I pulled it up.
Yeah.
And he's listening to the intro and he's gone, oh, wow. And songs like that. Again, there were some killer songs back in the day that, like, I mean, if you think about Blood, Sweat, and Tears in Chicago, introducing elements of jazz into rock, bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and yes, introducing classical elements. And of course he knew about them, but then there was another band, there was a song, another one hit wonder, which incidentally is one more hit than I've had. Band called Sugarloaf with the song Green Eyed Lady.
Yes.
Oh,
I love this song.
and he'd never heard of it. So I said, hold on, pull it up on my phone, start playing. And again, it's like, oh wow, this is like serious stuff, And so it's like, yeah. And I thought afterwards, if I had ever thought to do it, we should each just buy a clip-on mic and record these conversations, and then cut them up into a podcast, because, who knows, 2.5 people might listen. But yeah, I love meeting people like that and having those conversations where it's like, you're not competing with each other to, oh yeah, I know this, I know that, I do, but instead it's like a mutual respect and love and passion for the music, in my case.
I worked at several radio stations over the years, but my favorite radio station, the biggest one, was WCCC. I worked the overnights, but my favorite station was an oldie station in Waterbury, 1240 WWCO, your hometown favorite. And I played all oldies. They went through different genres of music, different formats. But when I was there, it was all oldies. And I used to play Sugarloaf. I played Midnight to Oasis. I played all the songs, Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane, Chicago. And it was great because they had different CDs, but they gave me a lot of leeway, and I used to bring my own stuff in. And luckily, I had the best of both worlds, where my father loved the oldies, and I grew up listening to that with him. But then my mother loved all the other stuff, so I also listened to that, and I gained an appreciation of all kinds of music at an early age.
That's so funny when you use that term, oldies, because the whole issue of nomenclature. Because to me, well, now oldies might mean something from the 80s,
Me too,
or the 70s. But for me, it's like, when I hear oldies, I think doo-wop. I think 1950s. That's 16 candles, and that's oldies. But now it's like oldies means like 80s, who knows, maybe even 90s. I don't know.
I know.
But
that's why I laugh even with TV. When I was younger, Nick at Night used to have the Many Loves of Dobie Gillis, the Patty Duke show. Now if you watch Nick at Night, they'll show Roseanne, or they'll show Home Improvement. I said, wait a minute.
Mhm.
I was 25 or 30 when that show came out. Now that's an
Yeah.
oldie show.
Yeah, it is strange, but I mean that is a reality. But it's like, yeah, for me, it's like, and I mean, yeah, doo-wop music, some of that stuff. Oh, especially, I mean, is it? I think it's in the first Rocky movie with Sylvester Stallone
Yes.
out on the streets of Philadelphia, where they're standing around. They've got
Barrel.
the 50-gallon drum with the fire in it, and they're standing around it,
Yeah.
badoom,
So,
singing, and I mean, that was good stuff.
You mind who
Yeah.
that was? That was Frank Stallone singing. That was
That's
Sylvester
right.
Stallone's brother.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. I forgot about that. Mm.
But that's
But
funny. I love that stuff too. That's why I'm so appreciative that my parents were open-minded enough that I am like that as well. Because I can go from Slayer to Beethoven to the Beatles to Madonna to ABBA to the Carpenters. I mean, there's so many great types of music out there. And a lot of times when I was in bands, like as I mentioned, I was in metal bands, and I would talk about this, and they'd be so close by. Oh, come on! I said, there's a lot more to life than Metallica. There's a lot more music out there. You don't know what you're missing out on. And they were just so close. The people I'm talking about were so close-minded, and I enjoyed. Like, I wanted to do a version of "Seasons in the Sun" by Terry Jacks, and they started laughing. I said, no, I'm serious. And so we can make it a little bit like sort of like what you do, a different arrangement. But I said, I love that song, and they're like, oh my god, no way. Just they could not get it through their head. There was more to life than just one type of music.
Well, and it's interesting too how that music has the power of nostalgia.
Yes.
Like certain songs, like if I remember, that was back in my mind remembers me in a place where I was listening to it. And so, that was when I lived in such and such a place. Oh no, wait, I was in middle school, or I was here. And especially now, certain songs bring me back to childhood,
Yes.
of like riding late night in the car from visiting cousins or something like that, and listening on AM radio, the stations fading in and out, and hearing certain songs. And it's like, I still hear those songs. And they're like so powerful. Hank, one of those best, Hank Williams, whippoorwill. Do you hear that lonesome whippoorwill? And like I said, it's like all of a sudden, not that I want to be that age again, because some of those memories are are shaky, but it's like, yeah, music, whether it takes you back to being a teen or a child, or first falling in love, or the adventure of like moving into your first home. Is, oh yeah, man, that's when I was like, I'm finally adult, and it's like, yeah, or oh god, yeah, I remember that concert. I remember that concert. It's the power of nostalgia of music. It's really cool.
The soundtrack of your life.
Yep.
I am the same way. I'm like that with movies as well. If somebody says, what year did this come out? I know exactly how old it was. I remember when I saw it. I remember what I did. I'm like, 1975, I was in first grade. Or 1979, I was here. I still, same thing with music. I can remember, as you said. I remember I was like 12 years old. I was outside playing in the woods. Just like it brings back the memories, good or bad.
It's so wild that,
The other thing that music does is you can have the worst memory in the world, but you can remember every lyric to a song that came out 40 years ago. It's funny, and I was reading something about that. There is something with music in the brain where your brain can remember lyrics and things like that, but you can't remember what you did yesterday.
And that's one of the other things. So funny. It was like, it used to be the thing. It was like, especially back when I was at that high school, junior high age, it's like parents listening to one of the songs, these new songs that you're listening to, and it's like, and they're understanding, they're listening and understanding the lyrics, and they're going, what was that? And I'm thinking, and honestly, we said, I just listen to the music, I don't listen to the words, which honestly maybe is a surprise now, but was really true for me, because I would go back some years and even like some of the older Beatles songs and like listen to the lyrics as an adult and go, oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Hard Day's Night? Should be sleeping like
Mm.
dog, but when I get home to you, I feel the things that you do make me feel all right. And it's like, oh yeah, yeah,
Now I get it.
yeah. I get that now. When I was
All
9,
right, all
I
right,
did
Ralph.
not get that.
I have a friend. She has her daughter's 15 now, but when she was 9 or
Mm.
10, she was singing these songs, and I'm laughing because she's singing the lyrics, but she has no idea
Yeah,
what she's
yeah.
singing. She knows the
Mm.
words. She sings along with the song. And I said, "Do you even know what this song means?" She goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Never mind." I didn't even tell her, but she
Ask
had
your
no
mother.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny that you said that. I want to go back to RCF, the early years, and how you got your start.
Mm.
Because you said you grew up in a house where radio was more important than television.
Mm.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, you have to
Hey.
repeat that. I was having technical difficulties on my
Okay.
end.
No, I said that you grew up. You said that you grew up in a house where radio was more important than television.
Mm. Yeah, and again, some of that does have to do with my age. But yeah, my parents, I mean, there were only 3, and after a while, 4 TV stations. So, I mean, if there's nothing acceptable on to watch,
Yeah.
but yeah, we had one of those old consoles where the TV screen was in the middle. It was speakers on either side. You flip to one side and it's the AM FM radio, or that's where you store your records. And the other side was where the turntable was.
My
So
parents had that.
yeah, I mean that's what I grew up with. And both my parents would sing around the house. You know, whether it was just like singing along to the radio. So music might be anything from
Mm.
old country, talking about like Patsy Cline and Ferlin Husky and those people. On the other hand, and then this will give away my age somewhat. I remember watching the Beatles on first appearance on Ed Sullivan, but part of that was because my mom wanted to see that.
Uh,
I mean, she wanted to see those guys. I mean, she had Elvis Presley records, she had Ricky Nelson. We had one of the early Doors 45s, and I'm pretty sure that was something she bought, not not us. So yeah, I mean, I grew up in Northern Virginia. I'm not from Connecticut originally. I'm not a nutmegger by birth, although I've lived here a lot longer than I haven't. And so yeah, once we got to a certain age, there's a little country church in the town where my father grew up. We started attending church when I was in grade school. My mother was the piano player there, and
Mm.
so it's like we'd have church songs, we'd have Elvis, we'd have the Beatles, we'd have all sorts of stuff. But it was like, yeah, music was surrounding me. Um, like I said, they would just sing because they love singing.
Mm.
And so for me, when I got to that point, uh, whether it's a piano round or whatever it is, I think I was 12 years old, and I said to my parents, I want a guitar for Christmas. And so they went down to the local GC Murphy company and got me, I think it cost them a whole $16 for a cheap guitar. And that was my first guitar. And I went down to the music store, bought a couple books, learned how to tune it, started learning to play chords. But yeah, it had always been there. It had always been there in some way, shape, or form.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I remember watching before Beatles on Ed Sullivan. I remember watching American Bandstand when Dick Clark was, it was black and white, and you saw the dudes, in matching tuxedo jackets and like,
Mm.
Yeah.
kind of swaying to the music when they sang, and the kids going, "Oh yeah, it was kind of nice to dance to. It had a good beat. I'll give it a 5."
Yeah.
And I mean, he did that for years, but I remember the early days of it. I remember watching TV with music when I was probably 4 years old. I
For
remember
me,
it.
I'm a little bit younger, but I grew up with, I mean, I did watch Dick Clark in reruns and I loved Ed Sullivan, but for me, it was Solid Gold, it was Soul Train. So I used to love, just like you,
yeah.
I grew up
It's
watching
party
all the,
time.
What
I
was
grew
there
up,
was
yeah.
another one, Midnight something or
Oh, Midnight Special.
yes, Midnight Special. Yeah.
I watched that as well. I actually
Well,
bought DVDs of that.
Dick Clark was still doing it until like what, 8 or 10 years ago?
Yeah. You gotta read the
May I
was it
have a run like
the
that?
ultimate teenagers, they called him. I mean, the guy he never aged until the very end. It's just
Good
when he
makeup.
got sick,
Yeah.
but he was doing that forever and he was so great at it.
Yeah.
And he introduced, now what do you think of people like Alan Freed? Because here's why I know what he did, and that's what I want to talk about. He was involved in that whole payola scam. What do you think of what's your opinion on the payola scam?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting it.
Okay, well, no, here's what I like about it.
Yeah.
No, because what he did was he would say, he was a real famous DJ, and he'd say,
yeah,
you want your record played? Well, give me some money. And he would play the record. I mean, what he did was, it was not morally right, but he introduced the public to so many bands I don't think it would have ever been heard back then, because we don't have they didn't have things like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So I think that in a way, he could have found a better way to do it, and he wasn't the only one doing it. But he could have found a better way to introduce bands. But I like that he introduced the public to so much great music that probably would never have, that might have slipped through the cracks.
Ultimately, in our system and our way of life, you need money to make money.
Yeah.
And that is a frustration, and that is also, again, one of the advantages. It's the good and the bad. It's that two-edged sword. With the digital age, it doesn't. I like to do things right, so I've recorded some stuff from home, and I'm getting better at that. But it's like generally, it's also I want to go to a studio where they know how to make me a good product. And also, I don't have to worry about mic placement and all this other stuff. And it's like I want to go and say, let me play my song. You record it. Let's work together to make it. But and part of that is like with the digital age now. Once even if I want to record at home, I can get my music out there for a fairly minimal cost. And the good thing about that is that anybody can get their music out there to the world. The bad thing about that is anyone can get their music out there to the whole world.
True.
So, but it's like, it is true. And that's why, again, for me, it's like, I really want to, I've been accused once or twice, mostly by women I've either been married to or dated, of being a music snob. And I wouldn't choose that term, but I do have standards. But the thing is, I try to hold those standards to me first, to like put out, I want my lyrics to be solid. I want my music to be listenable. I want it to be, I want to sound human, like we talked about earlier, but I want it to be of a quality that people go, this dude knows his stuff, So I may be dead for 30 years, but they might finally go, yeah, this dude knew his stuff,
It's all worth it.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And I personally don't think it's being a snob. I think that because I've, as I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of musicians on my shows, and they all say the same thing too. We talk about these bands where you can't even understand the lyrics, and like, how can you? I mean, it's just ruins to them and to me as well. It's just like when I can't really understand what they're saying and there's no meaning to it. It just doesn't have the same type of feel, and it doesn't evoke the emotions that were a song where you can understand the lyrics and it sort of has some meaning to it, and it definitely has a more of a profound effect on me. Yeah, so I agree with that. I don't think that's being a snob. I think it's just a matter of taste. Some people don't like that or care about that. Other people do, and I'm on the RCF train with that one. I'm with you. I agree with it.
That's good. Thank you.
RCF.
Now you mentioned that you were self-taught. Your mother and father bought guitars at age 12. Did you always just want, in the beginning, did you just want to be a guitar player? When did you realize, like, I can sing too?
Well, singing was just like, that was, of course, went to church. You sing at
Okay.
church, you know? And like I said, my parents sang all the time. I didn't do chorus or anything like that in school. Not until I was in college. Um, but for me, it was like, like I said, I knew my guitar chords. I knew how to read music. Every kid learned in like fourth, fifth, sixth grade, whatever it was, how to read the notes on a staff. And you knew the notes on a piano. That didn't mean you could play. But it's like, here I was at, I want to say probably 14, 15, 16 years old, 15, something like that. It's like, because my mother had a piano in the house at that point, and I'm like, oh, wait, when I'm playing this chord on my guitar, it's this note, this note, this note, this note. Well, if I play those same notes on the piano, it should sound good. It should be a chord. And that's how I started. I started just on the piano, just like plunk chords is the best way to describe them. Plunk, 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 plunk. And that's how I started playing piano, started playing bass, picked up some other stuff. Yeah, mostly, like I said, in my mid to late teens, I started doing the transfer to some other instruments and stuff like that. So,
Form a band back then with the neighborhood kids?
nope, I was
No?
too shy. Like I said, I spent most of my time with me and my guitar, not doing homework, in my bedroom. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say that because I work in a school and don't want my kids to hear that. Although on the other hand, I work with middle school aged kids, and as I tell them, especially with math, I said, you know what, I'll tell you the truth. When I was in high school, I took as little math as possible. If it was an elective, I didn't take it. I took what was required, and I passed that probably with D's. And I said, but you know what? Looking back now, I love math. I get it, and so that is like, oh, well, first of all, the harmony we have in music is based on principles by some guy named Pythagoras. He was a mathematician back in what, 400-500 BC, and it is mathematical. And so, but it's like, I probably won't tell him I didn't do my homework when I should have. I also paid the price for it. But it was like, on the other hand, it's like, you know what? It's okay to struggle. It's okay to hate it. It's okay to not get it. But as long as you keep trying and just listen to me, I'll help you through it. So, yeah.
So how old were you before you started writing your own music?
Oh, songs and lyrics. I mean, I probably wrote my first song when I was 14 or 15, but fortunately, I don't remember it. No, I didn't really. The songwriting bug didn't catch me until late. Back when I was married, my ex was also a musician, songwriter. We were doing mostly church related music. And she'd write words and maybe come up with a melody. I'd put chords to it. I'd help and smooth it out, straighten it out. I did for a while. I was a high school choral director at a private school. At that point, I started doing arranging, because I, do some composing. I'd take texts that already existed, poems, standard liturgical text, write my own music for it, arrange existing things. And it hasn't been really, honestly, for the past 10 or so years that I started writing. When I did my, mentioned the Never Too Late album, I went into the studio in mid or late 2012 with 2 songs. I said, okay, I'm going to do an EP. I'll take my 2 original songs. I'll do maybe 3 covers. I'll pay whatever's necessary for that. And then I'll release it as an EP. Once I started recording and got into it, it's all like, oh, wait, I got another song. Next thing you know, I had a 9-song all original album. And it's like a lot of things. The more you do it, am I there with you?
We lost you for a second. So you said the more you do it.
Yeah, the more you do it. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah.
The more you do it, it's just like any other thing. The easier, not easier necessarily, but the more natural
Confident. Yeah.
it becomes. Yeah. And it's like, I mean, it's like I said, that first one. And before I even got that one, in that time of like, okay, I've paid for all the recording, I've got it mastered. I got to save up the money to actually have CDs made, which I stopped making CDs, and all this is like in that gap. It's like all of a sudden, oh no, I got a new song. Oh no, there's another new song. And so it's like, yeah, and there are times where it is work. I have a pile of books that you guys can't see, but they're behind that way. Different songwriters, their memoirs or their stories about their songs. Or one guy named Jimmy Webb wrote a lot of Glenn Campbell's hits, Wichita Lineman, Galveston, all those songs. His is really like a textbook. And it's like, to me, it's like, I want to be serious about this. I want to learn. I want to, I'm not happy. That's not the best word, maybe, but I'm not satisfied with just being at this level. I want to keep being better and better and improving and improving. And so, yeah, like I said, it's the last 10, 11 years or so, something like that, that I really started like, okay, not just writing a song, but it's like after a year or 2, 3 years, it's like, you know what? I choose to identify I am a songwriter. This is not how I'm making my money. I'm not paying my bills with this, but this is like, this is who I am, so.
Perfect example of that would be Barry Gibb. Barry Gibb wrote so many great songs for so many people. I mean, example would be Islands in the Stream, Kenny Rogers, wrote songs for Barbra Streisand, and even Prince. Prince wrote these songs, the Bangles song he wrote, and people don't even know half the songs. And then he wrote a country song that he changed his name because he didn't want to be not that he was ashamed of it, but he didn't think that, I don't want to use the name Prince with a country song. But yeah, I like the fact that there's these artists out there that have hits. And another example, we were talking about this the other day, Carole King. She wrote songs, she and her husband at the time, which I think are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for writing, and deservedly so. So they wrote so many great songs. And then she came out with all these songs for Tapestry, and she goes, no, this is way too personal. I want to try and sing it. And then she became a sensation. So I like that you can, there's always a reservoir of songs that you're ready to write. And if other people say, hey, if you want this song, you can do. So do you actively write for other musicians, or if somebody says, can I borrow one of your songs or buy one of your songs?
Not so much. I mean, for me, it's like, if it's a good song, I want to record it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there have been a couple that I have either co-written or, well, like you mentioned Nutmeg Junction earlier, the original theme song. We're on the trolley, by golly, headed for some Nutmeg Junction. That was mine. That was my song. I wrote that. That was like, JT and said, hey, we need a theme song. You want to come up with something? And so I did. There have been a couple others that were actually used in shows. There were a couple that did, and I did whole things with them, and then I don't know if they ever got used. There were a couple during COVID, and but yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to that, and it's like, but right now it's like people seem to be either, at least around here, in one of two camps. They want to be the cover or the tribute, or if you're a songwriter these days, you're doing it yourself. I mean, I have thought about that. It's like, trying to reach out, maybe just to find a couple local bands. Hey, you want to do an original tune? Let's work something out. My latest release, Nothing Left But Empty. actually was a commission. I wrote that, it was an ecologically related commission. It was a couple of groups, one out of Hartford and then for Our Transportation Future, basically on like become sustainable energy when in the topic of transportation. And that was my first commission, and I would welcome any others.
Yeah, definitely. Why not?
Yeah.
Like I said, I like the fact you have so many ideas. You never, for the most part, I'm guessing from the way we're talking, that you never really had writer's block as a problem.
Well, I mean, it always is, but that's the other thing is like everything. I mean, I've got, again, behind you, underneath of those books are a couple of yellow legal pads, the full size, the officially legal pads. And that's what I always did. I'd write on this, which I still do love writing by hand. Particularly just there's something about the kinesthetic feel of it, but it's also being able to see. It's like, oh no, I'm just going to run a line through that and write my alternate idea. I love being able to look back at the changes I've made. But other than that, I mean, especially my phone, it's like I'll be somewhere and it's like, oh, you get this idea, even if it's just a word or a phrase or a sentence. I'm going to stop and I'm going to put it down. I can voice to text or, type it with my fingers into the phone, and every single idea like that gets filed,
Great.
because you never know when it's going to come back and be something. And those have been the things that sometimes the song I'm stuck on, it's like all of a sudden I'll go, oh, you know what? Wait a minute. I had this idea. Oh, let me pull that up, find it, and that's what, in a sense, rescues songs sometimes,
Yeah.
some other idea.
Earlier, you mentioned the Peter Jackson Let It Be documentary. There's
Mhm.
another series with Paul McCartney and producer Rick Rubin that I watched. I'm not sure if you saw that.
Yeah.
Right. Do you remember the part, and this I found fascinating because what you just said reminded me of it, where he said in the very beginning, they used to write simple songs, or Paul McCartney did anyway, because he wanted to be able to remember the song because they had nothing to record it on back then. And I never thought about that. And I talked to a lot of musicians about that. I said, that's, to me, is so amazing because now, as you mentioned, you can pick up your phone, right? Let me record this so I don't forget it. Back then, what's that idea you had last night, John? I don't know. I can't remember it yet. So he said that he wrote like, love me too, because it was easy and he could remember it. And I loved the older Beatles, but I also loved the early Beatles. I think that everything they did for the most part was great. It was time and the place for everything they did.
I mean, yeah, and that is everything. And that is one thing. It's like, and I've learned even like, okay, if I wake up, no matter how groggy I am, and if I had an idea or if I had something, like I did have some ideas in a dream, which again, coming back to the Beatles, yesterday, Paul McCartney says that melody came to him in a dream.
Yeah.
And he rolled over and he's like, oh, I got to remember this. So he went over to the piano right away. And he had no words for it, but it was a melody. And so he would remember it rhythmically. Da da da. He used the word scrambled eggs as a placeholder. Scrambled eggs. Da 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 da. But yeah, to get everything. I mean, and I've got still here one of those old. It was like, I guess it was one of the first digital. It wasn't recorders, but it was just a long time ago. It's just like a little thing you held like this, and you'd talk into it, and it had a chip. It would probably remember, all of like, not even a kilobyte these days. You'd have to erase it after 5 minutes of recording and transcribe it. But yeah, I mean, the idea is if you got it, you are not going to remember it. So if you can't write it down as music, then find some way, write those words down, stop, write them. I don't care if you had to pull a pen and write them on the palm of your hand, something, right? Give yourself something so that you'll remember it,
What's your process for writing music? Is it the music first, then the lyrics?
Sure.
Okay.
It really varies. It used to be earlier on, it was more music first and then lyrics. And because sometimes I would have like I had this song, Universal Hamster. It was one of my first ones, um, and there was just something about it that is like, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's walking, it's this, it's that, it's. So, and I
Hmm.
kind of sat with that. Okay, here's what it means, and then I came back. Every day I meet people walking down the street, all wandering. It's hard to sing a song sometimes without actually singing. Every day I meet people walking down the street, wondering that a way she should go. Up, down, downtown, all around the same town, back and forth and to and fro. Always in a hurry, you can watch them scurry their feet, always keeping in stride. Every day I meet these people walking down the street, acting like they know where to go. Tell me where it is they gotta go. Ooh. Something like that, but it's like
Very nice.
that. And there were a couple of those earlier
Hmm.
on. There are some where it's like it's a phrase,
Hmm.
and I'll have a general idea of a melody, which may evolve as it goes. Others is like they kind of come at the same time.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
very few songs is like, because everybody wants you to think, oh yeah, I was there. And it's like, boom, this song just, and
Hmm.
that's probably of like I've got 70 some songs or about 70 songs out. I've got a handful more in the process of recording and a few more waiting to be recorded after that. Out of those, seriously, two or three were written in like, they talk about it's written like that. The rest of them are just like, okay, you got an idea. Oh, I got to come back. All right, let's work on this. Okay. All right. I need to make myself sit down and work on this now. Boom. You know, yeah. Full Moon, Starry Night, Glass of Red was like 3 years almost to the date
Wow.
from
Hmm.
inception to completion. And I know that
It's
because
also
of
good that
dating things.
you're not forced by a time frame by some record company saying, you better get this done in 6 months. We need this out by October.
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, though, sometimes too, the pressure of that is
Yes.
like what it's like, hey, I, and that's what it is with this song is I started off, it's my song and it's called Full Moon, Starry Night, Glass of Red. I was out there on my front porch one Sunday night, uh, clear starry night. I think it was no, yeah, I think it was around May, probably. Glass of wine, thinking about somebody that was far away, and I'm thinking full moon, starry night, glass of red, and I just posted that on Facebook. And a friend of mine who is another songwriter um, posted and said, "It's a great beginning to a song you got there." And so I sent him a note and I said, "Okay, take it and run with it." And I never heard back from him. So I mean, I went in and I think I finished the whole chorus. You know, oh, ooh, which is like full moon, starry night, glass of red. Slowly the wine starts to fog my head. Still one thing seems to always burn through my memories of you. This guitar's out of tune. You may not notice, but I do. All right. So,
I didn't.
but so I went in, like I said, I wrote the chorus and just, I might have, excuse me, I might have started the first verse, but not much. Yeah, I think I had first verse, maybe part of another, and just kind of dropped it.
Mhm.
A couple years later, 2.5, something like that. I was talking to my friend Gracie Day. I think you know Gracie. I'm not sure if you do or not, but she sang with me on Picture at Night. She sang with me on the Friday Night Socialite, and I Don't Mind. But I sent it to her because she's a great writer. And I said, hey, let me send you this. Maybe you can take it from here and kind of help get it unstuck. And so I sent it, and she's like, nope, nothing. And so that's when I said, okay, is this Friday? And that was when I actually have written in a journal, which I still do love writing with pencil by hand, not pen, pencil. And I took it and went down the street and said, okay, I got I don't know, was it a glass of wine or bourbon or something like that. I said, okay, I'm going to sit here. It was a fairly quiet night, pulled out the book, started thinking, and I finished the song that night and I dated it. And this, when I looked back, I pulled up that date and I looked at, then I said, oh, you know what? Let me see if I can find that Facebook status. It took forever to scroll back that far. But it was something like, it was short of 3 weeks by something like, 3 years, sort of 3 years by like a week and a half or 2 weeks. And it was really, but it's work. Although sometimes I think maybe that deadline, with that nothing left but empty, I had some ideas, but it was like also I was working with a deadline, and sometimes those deadlines are the things that go, hey, no sloughing off here. You can't, you still got to work hard to get it good, but you got to get that together.
Yeah, that's true. I can definitely see both sides of it. One where you get to do it at your leisure and you have more time. Other times, like, no, you got to get it done now, and it sort of forces that creativity out of you instead of just letting it happen. You got to make it happen.
And that's what I think. Sometimes I remember, especially working with kids younger on, with the idea of writing and stuff like that, and they're like, they all want it to be, especially if you've got any kind of, sometimes someone plays into it, this whole religion, or it's like something about it. It's like, and it's like anything, first of all, it's like anything that comes, it's like, you can't criticize me on this, and you'd have these kids, it's like in one song, they tried to fit every chord they know and every topic they know into one song. It's like, well, no. But yeah, the idea of like, it is work, and it's like, there are moments of inspiration, and I don't not believe in inspiration, intentional double negative there. But it's like also the thing of like, okay, if I want this to be good, it's time to like really be critical of myself, and it's like, okay, we're going to make this work, put that pen to paper. I don't care if what you write is crap, put that pen to paper and write. You can fix it afterwards. But make yourself do it. I have a friend that has a great phrase. I don't know if it's hers originally or she got it from stars, but she refers to it as the discipline of being there.
I like that.
And she's a visual artist, but just that whole idea of just do it, and start. You can always fix it afterwards.
Well, when I was in writing, the phrase was, and I think it pertains to music as well, perfection is the death of good. People would write, I'll explain what I mean. There were so many writers. I was part of a writing group for a while, and I started it. I came out with my book. It was already had 3 book signings. They were still writing the same story. Oh no, I gotta finish this. It's like, and we were all talking, like, how long is it gonna take? And that's when I said I actually taught that class, not taught it, but I ran the class, and that was my subject. It was like, perfection is the death of good. Like, you're never going to get it exactly how you want it. Just get it as good as you can, and then move on. You're always going to be working on it. Like, I can get it just a little bit better. And I like what you said. And with the other people, with me, less is more. An example would be what you just mentioned. They tried to fit everything into one song. Look at one of my favorite songs of all time is Louie Louie by the Kingsmen. And it's just a couple chords. And AC/DC is another band that I love. And they do the same 3 chords. So you don't have to show how great you are. You don't have to throw everything to have a good song. It could be just a great beat, but simple.
And that is one thing. I really, again, come back to the Beatles. Mr. Sir Paul McCartney. A couple of his early solo songs, actually, my song "Mean Looking Dog," which people probably think is inspired more by Nothing But a Hound Dog. It's not. It's actually more inspired by Paul McCartney had and I'm trying to remember, it was either on the Ram album or his first solo album, which had the bowl of cherries on the front. My dog, he's got 3 legs. Your dog, he's got da da. And it's like, I thought, wow, that's like, if that song can make it, I need to write a dog song, you know. His other song on his second album, the Ram album, the song Ram On. I counted. It's like, I think it's 10 or 12 words, the entire song. And it's like, sometimes, yeah, I mean, it's not about, I mean, and I admire the writers, and like in my mind, one of the newer, Jason Isbell, or we were talking the other day about Bob Dylan. These people that can just take words and like, woo, is like they're masters of language.
Yeah.
And it's like, but not every song has to be that. You know, make it solid, make it good, but it's like, I mean, Ram On, 12 words. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, not every song has to be like this amazing masterpiece. Right. And that's one thing I've always admired about visual artists. The whole concept of a sketchbook. You know, they've got this thick sketchbook, and are there any of those things? They're not even really designed to like make them famous or to like be masterpieces. Their whole concept is practicing techniques you've learned. Sit, draw, doodle, just do something in that book today, you know. And that's like, there's, you know, got to be a way, whether it's, again, writing a book, writing a song, of just like, do something, sit down and pick up that guitar and play, you know, mess around with it, do something productive. And so, yeah, it's not everything has to be a masterpiece.
Exactly.
And maybe it might suck, but you know what, you did something.
Okay. And that's, well, what I was going to say was, with writing, they said, if you can't think of anything, just write the first thing that comes into your mind. Even could sound crazy, could sound stupid, and sometimes that will change the whole trajectory of the story. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, that's great. Then that will come. And that happened to me one time. I was writing something. I said, I just wrote something down, and I said, whoa, and that sparked a whole new idea, and I went off running with it. So I agree with you, with music, with writing, whatever you're doing, just do it. Like a Nike commercial, just do it.
Yeah.
Don't say, oh, you know, I'm not feeling inspired today. Sort of force yourself to be inspired. Just, and then the more you do it, as you said before, the more natural you're going to become at it, the better you're going to be, the more confident you're going to be. It's just, if you just do it when you're like, oh, I'm tired, I don't think I'm going to do it, then you're just going to, basically, after a while, it's like going to the gym. I'm going to take 1 day off. That turns into 2 days. That turns into 3 days. Next thing you know, it's I'm paying 10 bucks a month
like
for nothing.
Me.
Yeah. So I love your mentality. I want to talk about your lyrics. Where do you draw your lyrical inspiration from?
Oh, jeez. Anything and everywhere. I guess it's some of them just like feelings about the songs. Ed McMahon, that song. It's just like, I was coming home. I walked up on my porch. My neighbor was getting something from his mailbox. You know, it's like 5, 6, hold on, 7 mailboxes in a row, and you know, just feeling, make conversation. Said, "Oh yeah, I'm just checking. I'm expecting a package to come." Blah 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 blah. And I said, I'm expecting someone to send me $1,000 in the mail, but he's not cooperating. And immediately my mind thought about, remember those old Ed McMahon commercials?
Clearinghouse.
Look for the
Yeah.
envelope with my picture on it. It might already be at your door. And in my head starts going, Ed McMahon, would you please knock on my door? I need some money badly. Could you get it here by 4? And that's like I went, I said to the neighbor, see you later. I went upstairs, and that is one of those songs that I wrote, with the exception of a few revisions, minor revisions, did write in like 10 or 15 minutes, you know. So there's that. There are other things, ravens and crows. I was driving past and I saw a couple birds sitting on the power lines, and I said, just saw 2 or 3 of them. I just saw 2 or 3 of them flying to the tree again. It's the kind of thing they often do. And then, so again, when it said, oh, okay, got to come up, a little reference to Alfred Hitchcock, a little reference to Edgar Allan Poe, and, you know, so, I mean, yeah, I mean, it can really be anywhere, and it can be something, and it can be nothing. As I mentioned, I don't know if you were there yet the other day, but the whole idea, oh God, love, not love, breakups, all that, all that stuff is like an eternal source of
Well, it's made a
material.
career for Taylor Swift.
You know, it's interesting because I heard somebody say once that all songs are love songs.
Yeah.
They're just not that kind of love. You know, it might be about love of a child. It might be about love of nature. It might be about the love of freedom, you know? And so, but it's like, you know, or it might not be, it might be about not getting that love, you know,
Yeah.
about feeling stuck. I don't know. I'd have to think back through all my songs, but some of them are, you know, some of them are relationship experience based. Some of them are, and that's the thing I love about love songs and songs about, for me, in the case of women, uh there might be a song that I've written that is like absolutely 100% it happened that way, and this words were said, blah 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 blah. The next song might be totally made up. The other one might be an amalgamation of this person, that person, this over there, some real, some not real. And I just assume you not know which is which.
I like that. Now, in your opinion, do you find you get more inspiration when you're struggling, you have conflict, maybe even tragedy, more than when you're happy in a good mood, or can you be creative on both stages of life?
Yeah. All right, hold on.
No, I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. You have to repeat that question again. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, what I was asking, because I said, do you find it, some musicians or some artists in general say they're more creative when they're struggling, when they have conflict, maybe even tragedy, than more when they're happy, because then they're more complacent, they're more comfortable, and the creativity juices aren't flowing as much as when you're on the darker side of life?
Not from me. And again, that is part of my outlook. I'm the one who think, and again, working with kids, it's like, I'm sorry, yeah, I see you're having a bad day. Tough luck.
Love that.
You know, and as I take the same approach to writing, I do have some songs where, yes, a breakup has inspired a song, but that's still not usually until, you know, a little processing. And one of them might be, I think I sang them both the other day. You know, one is a really just like a realistic and a personal, like, this was just too bad. And the other is like, uh, I call her because that's her name, just like the her of a hurricane. Makes me wish I had some Novocaine. That's her, you know. And was that necessarily was that the reality of what the situation was? Um, there are others. I did one instrumental. It's called Meditation for Joanne, that's out there. Joanne was one of my sisters. And that was like the day we knew she was dying. As I came home after hearing that she died, and I just pulled up my guitars and stuff, and I just started to play. Another song called Promises to Keep. It was probably close to a year before my father died, but we knew it was coming. And honestly, I had felt at that point, after having been down to visit, that I felt I almost felt as if he's like, I want to be released. I am done. I'm finished. I have done what I need to do. And so that song came out of that. So yeah, I mean, they're there, but it's like there are other times where it's like, no, you just need to sit down and write. Am I pulling from a pool of resources of experience? Absolutely. But they're not necessarily what I'm going through at the moment.
Well, no, I love that because you mentioned 3 or 4 different scenarios. 1, Ed McMahon Publishers Clearinghouse. 2, a Raven. So just that, yeah, you can draw inspiration from just everyday things or just random experiences. And it doesn't have to be all heartbreak like Taylor Swift. It doesn't have to be all funny like some other artists. It's just you have whatever you feel like writing, whatever inspires you at that moment. That's what you come up with.
And an interesting thing, about the Ed McMahon song, that is, in these years past, coming close to 10 years that I've been putting out this stuff, that has been on Spotify my most popular song, and it has held that position for years.
Congratulations.
Chasing Constellations, Threatening is still is close. It's like within the 25 or 30 finally. I think Mean Looking Dog might eventually surpass that, and maybe in not too long. But it's where was I thinking with this? But it's
Talking about the songs.
Inspiration can be a cop out sometimes, and an excuse to not just buckle down and work. Are those great? Oh yes. When those songs come like that, oh, that's such a good feeling. But you can write a song because it's time to sit down and write, and be just as passionate about it and just as communicating. And that's, again, that takes a little more work, so.
That's why, I mean, people who want to do this have to experience persistence, dedication, and just discipline. I think that's the biggest thing with anything you do. Just if you're disciplined and you can get things done, you don't always have to be inspired or in the mood to do it, but just do it. And
it's so funny because, like, and I don't know, maybe this happens with you and the whole comedy thing. The things that really mean a lot to me, the songs that I've written that are maybe very deeply rooted in something, you might, you put everything into it and you get out there, and it might be the one that people are just going, okay.
yes.
Yeah. But to you, it meant a lot. And the other songs that are like, okay, this is just like, all right, I got, I'm going to write this. Okay, yeah, this is good. This is solid. You deliver it well. And it's like, people are going, oh man, I love that song. It's like you never know. So it's like for all of them, you got to put your best into it,
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
And it's funny. Like, imagine you get that one joke and that line, and you're, you've rehearsed it in your mind so many times, and you're just seeing the audience just like breaking up and like literally falling out of the chairs, and you say it.
Well, I have experienced that. And what's funny about that, and I'm sure it might be the same with your songs, at one time I was doing sometimes 4 states a week. I'd be doing Connecticut, New York, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, sometimes New Jersey, sometimes 5 in one week. I would do the same jokes. Each place get a different reaction. Southington loved one joke. The next night in Springfield, they just sat there and I heard crickets. So you never know what the audience is gonna like. And everybody says, "Oh, you got to read the room." You can't really tell what the room's gonna like, what they're gonna like or not like. So just do what I think is funny in comedy, and you do what you like to do. And that's why in writing, I mean, it all comes together. All these anything anything for people who want to be creative. Somebody said, well, who should I write for? I said, what are you talking about? Well, how do I find my audience? I said, write for yourself and let the audience find you. If you write expecting what you think other people want to read, you're never going to have a loyal audience. You're going to have maybe like, oh, she's okay. But if you write from your heart and you write what you're passionate about, the audience will find you. And it's the same thing with music, same thing with comedy. You have to do it for yourself first, and then the people will find you.
Right. And again, coming back to this whole thing of balance, yes, there is a thing about reading the room and this and that. And it took me a while, particularly music, because I used to do the gigs where you're not getting out till 1 a.m. and you're trying to keep people hyped up, and that's not me.
Yeah.
Can I do that if I have to? Yes, to some degree. Do I really want to? Absolutely not. So why should I make myself miserable?
Exactly.
Pretending that I love something that I really want to be doing this because I love it, So yeah, like you were saying, if I like a certain type of song, if I like this and I think then keep singing it till the people go, oh God, I feel that. I feel that right here,
Now, for me, a successful night in comedy was even if I made just one person laugh. I'm happy that I made that one person's night and they enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't as fun as maybe when the whole crowd was into it, but I never walked off stage discouraged. I always said, well, they laughed last night, they'll laugh tomorrow. I just said that, I had confidence in what I was doing, and not every night is going to go well, no matter what you're doing. That's why I think for people who are creative like me, you, Wibo, you have to have a thick skin, because not everybody's going to love what you do. And if you take everything to heart, every criticism, you're going to be a wreck.
Oh,
just
big
say,
time.
You're not talking about Will Smith and Chris Rock, are you? No.
No,
I'm staying out of that.
Yes. We'll pretend I never said that. Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about there.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I get that. And that's like, again, with a song, whether somebody comes afterwards and says like, that song just really, it's like I had somebody says, it's about a relationship song, and they said, you wrote that about a real person, didn't you? And I made the mistake of telling him the truth and say, yeah, I did, and I never saw that woman again. But it's like there's one time I have this song called I'll see if I can play this. It's like and then I talk my intro. I say, this is a song I wrote about a woman named Janice. Her middle initial was A. Last name, Qua. Janice say Qua. Janice say Qua. She's got that certain something. And as I was playing it at this is an outdoor at a restaurant. And I got to that line where it says last name is Qua. Janice say Qua. This one woman, not at a table, not too far from me, just like, those deep belly laughs. It's
yes.
like you could hear her, and it's like, thank you. Thank you. I don't know how many times I've sung this and people are just like either not hearing me, but the fact that one person, you got that. And not only did you get that, you didn't go, oh my God, this is so. Oh.
Yeah, she loved it.
I can't believe he said that. But she just, it's like you said, those are rewarding moments when someone, again, gets the passion of a song, the humor, the whatever it is. It's like, okay, this is cool. I can dig this,
How would you describe your music?
I Okay. I this is kind of this is okay. This is not FCC radio, so I can say smart ass.
Say whatever the hell you want. Go right ahead.
I give what is kind of a smart ass answer sometimes because people always want to know when you come in. Oh, so what kind of music do you play? And I looked at him and I did this the other night and I said, hopefully good. Because if not, this is going to be a long night for a lot of us. Yeah, that's really hard for me to say. My influences, okay, with the last one, I love the music of what we refer to generally as the Great American Songbook. The 1930s, the 40s, Gershwin, Porter, Berlin, those guys. I love that music. So there's a lot of that. But I'm also, okay, Beatles. Oh, yeah, definitely big influence. Some of that earlier country, newer writers. I love Lyle Lovett's music,
Yes.
And so I've got a little folk. It's all in there mixed a little together. I kind of.
Not fix your television set. What you are seeing is not your TV. We are having technical difficulties. We will be back right after this
Can you
short
hear
commercial
me?
break, and we're back with Robert C. Fullerton on Rich and Wibo present the Local Artist Show.
All right. Yeah, this is the real me this time, is not the imposter. I'm trying to remember what I was even saying now.
You were talking about what kind of music, and the last thing you said was hopefully good.
Yeah, and it's like as if not, we're in for a long night. And so I've had all these other influences, whether it's from jazz, country, folk, rock and roll, good old Beatles, Duke Ellington said there's only two kinds of music. There's good music and there's all the rest of that stuff. I don't know what word he really used there, but so I mean, there's that. I tell some people because there's the term blue-eyed soul, like acoustic soul is some of the greatest compliments I've received. Is I've had somebody came out. I was playing this one restaurant. Dude comes out of the kitchen and he goes, "That was you." He goes, "You got soul."
Yeah.
And to me, that is like, that's a high compliment because it means there's a passion. They're feeling a passion to what you're doing. Is what it is, Yeah, I don't know. I love too many different kinds of music. Well, yeah, and they all sneak into my influences. I'm too rock. I've got too much rock for the folk people. I got too much folk for the jazz people.
Yeah.
For the folk people, you can't keep them happy anyway, no matter what you do. So, it's like tell people, okay, because if you say, well, my music's a little bluesy, and they go, oh man, I love the blues. I didn't say blues. I said bluesy. And so it's like bluesy, but not blues. Jazzy, but not jazz.
No, I think acoustic soul is a great way to describe your music.
Yeah. So it's a little folk rock, country, classical, jazz ish. So yeah, that's why again it's come back thing. Hopefully it's good, because if not, you're going to I'm going to have to sit here and listen to me not entertaining you. Yeah.
Well, similar to, and I'm not sure if this is an urban legend, but how the Righteous Brothers got their name. Somebody goes, "You brothers are righteous."
Yeah. I don't know. I never heard that, but it's like, Righteous Brothers and Everly. Actually, I think Righteous Brothers were the first people to be referred to as blue-eyed soul.
Yeah.
I think it was them, but oh yeah, man, that's right. Those harmonies of those early guys, Righteous Brothers. Again, going back to the doo-wop.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Oh, killer music. Everly Brothers.
Yeah, I know. Why, I mean, like I said, there's so many different kinds of music out there, and I wish
It is.
everybody had the open mind where they can appreciate just more than one genre. Because unfortunately, I think a lot of people do get stuck in one type of thing, and they like that, and it's good, they like it, but they're missing out on
Mhm.
so much. Not just music, movies, books, everything. There's
No,
just experience as much as you can.
Yeah.
That's why I love, because you take all your influences and put it into your music, originals
why-
and the cover songs
Mhm.
that you do.
And-
That's why I
and that's
mentioned
why-
earlier.
Labels are really a horrible thing.
Yeah.
And I get the reason for them. But it's like the minute you put a label on something, it's going to make some people happy and it's going to make other people go, oh man, I got to listen to that, or I got to look at that. I got to read this. I got to talk to that person. I mean, especially we are so, and I get it, but we are so polarized, particularly with politics in our society today, not just our country, but our world. And then it's like the minute someone, oh, you're a conservative, you're a liberal, you're this or that, we automatically flip this switch in our head and we
Yeah.
can't talk to that person.
I know, it's
Instead
sad.
of meeting somebody and saying, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love that food. I love that pizza. You're into this? And getting to know somebody as an individual. And then maybe you can talk about that stuff. And
Yeah,
you've got
exactly.
a different filter. One of my very best friends, we vehemently disagree politically on most things, but we can talk about it now because we have the context of I respect you as a human being and you respect me.
Mm.
And so it's like the more you talk, it's like, oh, you know what? On that one point there, I do agree with you.
Yeah.
I do agree with you on that. And it's like, but we like our labels. We like things to be either right, left, black, white, this, that.
no.
And there's never this like, you know what? Yeah, you know what? You're human, I'm a human. let's start there. You know?
Actually, I'm the same way as you. I have friends, and a lot of my friends will say to me, like, you're the only person I know that disagrees with me, but you don't have to scream and yell at me. I said, why? We have so much in common. Why would you let one little thing get in the way? And like you said, sometimes they'll be saying something like, you know what? I see your point there, but what about this? And they'll say, wow, I never thought of it like that. So, I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but unfortunately now it's like, if you don't agree with everything I say, I hope you die. And whoa, where'd that come from? It's just become that polarizing.
We jump to name calling.
Yes.
You know, and it's like taking logic and throwing it out the window. It's taking rationale. It's taking compassion and the idea of dialogue. And it's like, well, you don't agree with me. You're like a stupid idiot.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the calm version.
Yes, that's the FCC version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it's like, hey, and that's why I have a couple songs. There's a monster, another one called Ankle Deep and Rising, where they either are or could be very highly interpreted. It's like, I know I've got friends that are like on both sides of the issue. Then, the liberals are going, oh yeah, yep. You tell them. And my conservative friends are going, yep. You tell them. And it's like the same song, but it's like, it's the principle, It's like, sometimes just, you need to take the time to listen and talk and understand that. And you know what? Oh God, I may absolutely hate what that person stands for, but that's still a human being. And maybe we can talk,
That's what I always say. It's like, you're never going to make me agree with you, and I'm never going to make you agree with me. But we have so many other things coming. We like a lot of the same music. We like a lot of the same movies. We like a lot of the same types of food. That we have so much more in common than we have uncommon. So why do we always have to concentrate in just the things we have or not? And then, but that's where the respect comes in too, because people like that are like, I respect you as a human being. And there was a quote. It's they say that the Dalai Lama said, I'm not sure if he really did say it, but I love this quote. They said, when you talk, all you ever do is hear what you know. When you listen, you learn something. And a lot of people just like hearing themselves talk instead of actually listening to somebody else with different views. Like, no. This is what it really is. Well, why don't you let them finish? Maybe you'll realize you'll see it from a different angle or a different light. So I'm with you on that too.
Yeah, and it's like there's never an easy answer, and it's all about balance, and it's but
Yes.
yeah, I had this in one song, and I never wrote verses for it, and I don't know that I was ever going to put it on, but it's at the end of my long time coming album. Let's see if I can sing it. It's like, and it's just, if we walk together, we might talk together. You spend a little time, just like if we talk, we might start to hear. When we heal, perhaps we'll listen and we'll find a way to get along together without the hate and fear. And that's all there is to it. That's the whole song. I thought it was on a writer voice. It's like, yeah, just start where you are. Walk together.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, you start to talk, and then talking becomes. There's a difference between hearing and listening.
Yes.
We might start to hear. When we hear, perhaps we'll think, and maybe we'll hear, and perhaps we'll find. Oh, wait, yeah, maybe I'm just an old hippie.
Well, I'm a younger hippie, but I still agree with everything you're saying. After a while, people will be walking together and talking, and they'll say, "What were we mad about at it again?" I don't even remember. Who cares? Let's go get some food. So,
look, a squirrel. No.
Well, in this ADD nation, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I hate you. Oh, wait, was that a rabbit?
Yeah.
Let's get back to your music, because we were talking about how you play with yourself. I want to talk about a recent show that you did, and you mentioned good. Two of these members. I know it didn't sound good. Let me rephrase that. When you perform, no, I was gonna say you perform alone.
Play alone. I play alone. Yeah.
Okay. Perform alone, play alone. But recently you did a show with two people you mentioned before. One was Gracie Day, the other one was Jeffrey Brodka. It was called the Songwriter Showcase. Let's talk about that show.
I mean, that was really good. I love songwriters, particularly a songwriter in the round. Done a few. There aren't enough of those. Whereas just, 2 or 3, I've actually done some that are more. I think 3 is ideal. Where you're just sitting there, and it's usually very casual feel to it. And hold on.
Okay.
That's called overload on the computer. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, very casual and low key, and you don't do a lot of pre-planning, because it's like when you sing this song, that might trigger in my mind, oh yeah, that reminds me of my song, so it becomes like banter. It's like the performers are talking to each other, but they're also including the audience and bringing them into it. That was that with them. They were the people who performed with me on I Don't Mind That I Can't Get You Off My Mind. And are you still there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I can't hear you, but it's like, for whatever reason, it says my speaker isn't.
Yeah, we can hear you. Okay.
You hear me now? I'm guessing that's a no. We can't hear you. It's like one of those bad Godzilla movies.
Oh, his microphone.
Oh.
He's on mute.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. There you
How
go.
about
Now,
Can you hear
yeah,
me?
you
okay?
was on mute for a minute.
Yeah, I had to unplug and replug so to do it. Okay. What I was saying is this: they were the people that performed with me on my song Friday Night Socialite. I don't mind that I can't get you off my mind. I've known Jeff for maybe about 5 years or so, Gracie for 8 or 9 years. And you build those relationships and those friendships. And it's nice to be able to do, whether it's recording or a gig like that, a show like that. I love those kinds of shows. I actually saw one, it was here in town at the Warner, maybe 5 years ago. Sean Colvin and Lyle Lovett. And when it was the kind of, they even did that with, like what's the Warner hold? I forget, but it was a packed theater. And they just kind of sat in the big theater.
Oh, okay.
In the big theater. And they sat like on the stage in chairs, like just 4 or 5 feet from the front of the stage with their guitars. And it's like so funny. You'd pick up a song and they start playing and blah 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 blah. He'd turn to her, blah 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 blah. And then the audience, yeah, you know what, blah 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 blah. And it was just, I love that, again, be able to talk about the songs, but just like where it's like it may be 1,500 people, but it's like you're in your living room kind of feel. That is kind of a cool feel. So that was that gig, and I love doing those kind of things.
Have any more upcoming songwriter showcases coming up?
Nothing that is popping into my head right now. Love to do those. I would love to do some house concert kind of gigs, but there are even a couple that as I plan them. If I can get 1 or 2 people, we might not do it as official, but my hands get old and get tired, and I wouldn't mind doing, sharing some gigs with a couple people. And so who knows, any gig somebody shows up, if there's room, I might have someone else there with me if I can arrange it.
It's good. It seems like recently in the last several years, breweries are becoming a big thing, where there's a lot of local acoustic acts, and they're popping up everywhere. And I love going to them, and I love seeing anytime I go, there's always some kind of acoustic band. I'm always having a great time. But another place you play, which I love this place, the Infinity Hall.
I have not been back since obviously COVID, but they also shortly before, or right around the time I think COVID was about to hit, a little bit before, under new ownership. And so I've not been back, but oh man, I especially for those people who might be listening or in the area, there is the one in Hartford, but the original one out in Norfolk, which is an old Victorian building. Mark Twain actually spoke on that stage. And it's just such one. It was great sound, as great natural acoustics, great audience, seats something like only 300 people, I think.
No, 300,
yeah. It's like no matter where you are in that auditorium, you're basically right there, up close and personal. So I played in the bistro. I actually got to play on the big stage a couple times, once as part of the competition. A couple of things. It was a great spot, and it was great people. And again, somewhere where there's great sound, it's a nice stage, a beautiful auditorium, great vibe. Love spots like that.
Yeah, no, I've been there several times. Not the one in Norfolk. I've never been to one in Hartford. I love that. You mentioned it and you described it perfectly. I love that. And the acoustics sounded great. It was a great atmosphere, and I had the best time. There's another place. I'm not sure if you ever played there, but I saw several bands at the Broadbrook Opera House.
That's recently come to my attention, that does. That would be looks like it would be a really cool spot to play.
You'd be a perfect
all sorts
fit
of
there.
venues like that around Connecticut, including, there's the Palace, I think is Danbury and Waterbury. Ridgefield Playhouse, there's the one in Thomason, all sorts of the places like that, which smaller theaters, which would be, yeah, I would gladly play any of them. So if anybody has the connections and wants to book me, yeah, that would be cool.
Show, book them. It's always a group,
Yeah.
always puts on a great show. Do you play outside of Connecticut?
I was starting to a little bit before COVID, just starting to get back out. I've got, I think the first one coming up out of state. I was up in, I can't remember where that was, up towards Northampton, but I'm also playing in May, I think it is, a place called Chester Common Table in Chester, Western Massachusetts. Trying to work out something else with it. Again, it's a songwriters thing, where there's a group of people in the Sturbridge Southbridge area.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I mean, and I have played in the past. I'll especially, well, it might be a little more hesitant, depends how much money you get with gas prices these days, but yeah, for me, an hour and a half, a couple hours, if it's, if they're going to be people there to listen, and I've got enough to at least cover the gas and buy a drink when I get home. Yeah, I played Marlboro, New York, on the other side of the Hudson. I used to play a couple places in the Hudson Valley, Ossining, Katona, out that way. So yeah, somebody
Place I
wants
know
me.
you would do great. I did comedy there, and they have two different things. They have an open mic, but as a headliner, you get to play at least 45 minutes, and then you get paid for it. It's called the Mediator Stage. It's an old church. It's in Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, yeah.
Such a fun place.
There is something about, and no matter the style, church buildings, one, were built for sound, because a lot of them were built, several before there was such a thing as electrical amplification. So they were built for sound to carry. There's in Connecticut, it's been gone for several years now. I played once or twice, I can't remember. The old, and they spelled it OLDE, Old Church Acoustic Series. It used to be at a church in Rocky Hill, and then they moved it to Meriden. That, a couple other places where I've done in churches, but again, they're made for sound. And so whether it's an old stone building or wood, when you sing, whether it's amplified or not, the sound just carries so beautifully, and there's something cool about those spots. Yeah.
After the show, I can get you some names for that, because I know you would do very, very well there. And just they put a jar out, and you could table, you could sell all your music if you want, and merchandise if you have any. But then you get paid, and you get to do, normally it's like 45 minutes, but sometimes you can do longer. And every time I've gone there, I went there once after COVID, and it was a little bit less people than there normally was, but I think it's getting back to normal again, where the place was always packed. So keep you updated. You are a man of many talents, though. I mentioned all of it in the very beginning in the intro, but you also, besides being songwriter, guitarist, keyboardist, you're also a voice actor. We talked a little bit about this. Let's talk about Nutmeg Junction. I know you wrote the theme song. How did you become involved in that originally?
I can't even remember how I met J. Timothy Quirk. It was probably actually by way of Facebook and the T-Town chatter page or something like that. And we ended up meeting face to face, which is a page where I post and run. Yeah, I got talking, did several other things, and I can't remember whether this was in person, him talking, just saying, "Oh, I've got this idea for something I really want to try, really want to do." And so I said, "Yeah, hey, I'm in. You might check with this person, check with that person," and started off. I mean, you weren't there, I think, at the very beginning. It was very much a different show, the first like several episodes, and the concept actually was of like traveling along on a trolley and meeting different peoples, and that's how he would introduce stories and characters. And so yeah, I was with that, and I was actually doing, if I was doing appearances other than writing music, I was me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then they came along. I spend a lot of time by myself. I love doing voices and accents. Oh, that's right. We had been before that at is it the Goshen Theater, Goshen Playhouse? I forget which they call it. I've been part of a Reader's Theater production of 12 Angry Jurors. And he was one, and I was the Eastern European person. And that's when, let me see, because I don't know if you're familiar with the movie 12 Angry Men.
Oh yeah,
And there's the one scene. Yeah, there's the one scene where the one guy goes, "They don't even talk good English," and the guy who's from the immigrant says, "They don't even speak good English," and it's just like that was so interesting because like at the end of the night, the final, I think we did it 2 or 3 shows. And then the night, this one guy who was like a regular there, and I think his wife was on the board, or he was on the board, he comes up to me and says, so where exactly are you from? and that's when I stood down and said, well, I grew up in Virginia and I used to talk like this. And he goes, wow. He goes, my family are from, and I forget where he said, but somewhere in Eastern Europe. And he goes, you had me totally convinced. So but that was Joe and I had done that together. So yeah, but it's kind of fun now. I love, it's like I said, I walk around talking to myself in accents at home, and it's just me. So somebody else, it's about time somebody else enjoys them or likes it, Yeah.
I think I was on the first episode, because here's how I got involved. Joe Timothy Quirk, I'll explain why. Because Joe Timothy Quirk was the best. I mean, I first was introduced to him when I was doing comedy, and I reached out to him. I said, because he was writing for I think the Winstead Phoenix at the time. And he goes, Rich, I'd love to do an article on you. So he wrote an article on me. Then we became friends. He goes, Rich, I'm doing a podcast. I'd love to have you on the podcast. Then he was doing some TV show. He goes, Rich, I want to have you on the TV show. Then he was doing a cartoon. I said, yes, I'd love to. So he made a cartoon. But the original concept, as you said, it was a trolley, and they had a guest, and they had a musical guest as well, besides doing the skit. I was the first guest they ever had. So Joe said, do you want to do a couple of voices? I said, yeah, I'd love to. And I never left. So Joe says I have the distinction of being the first guest ever to become the first regular on the show. So that's when it was great. It was me, you, Conrad, Josh, Jandy. It was just the core 5. Yeah. And you're right, it was a completely different show. And I'm so happy for Joe, because this show has gone worldwide. It's in New Zealand, Ireland, all over Connecticut, New York. I mean, I don't know how many states it's in now. I lost track. And I'm so happy. He had a plan when he first came. We used to meet at the church originally. Yeah. And then we'd record next door at the radio station in Torrington. And he goes, he had that Steve Martin quote, like, be so good, they'll never forget you. And he goes, here's my plan. 2 years I want to be here. 3 years I want to be here. It's been, I think, a little bit over 5 years. And we're at least 20 stations, I think. New Zealand, as I mentioned. So I am so happy that he is a guy that I have so much respect for, because he has so many things on his plate, and he always comes out with a quality product no matter what he's doing. And so I love being a part of that show. It's a little bit tougher now with Zoom, and so I don't do it as much, but whenever they ask me, like, Rich, you want to do a voice? I'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, actually the whole trolley concept came from his cartooning, which he had been doing for several years before that. And it had cartoons in newspapers. I forget where, somewhere out in the Midwest, Nebraska, I want to say, or something like that, and a couple other places. He's a really cool guy, and yes, very, very much a visionary.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, you must have had him on, well, not just this show, but I
had him on all 3 incarnations of my show. I had him on the original Claus Corner, which was on Spotify, Patreon, iTunes. Then I had him on the Claus Corner again on the YouTube, but then I had him on this show, Wibo, we had the cast of Barnaby Druthers on. So yes, he's been on my show 3 times, and it's so funny because I've had different people from the show, and every time it always goes back to Joe talking about how great he is. I mean, I've never heard one bad thing about him. I've never, like I always tell people, I don't even think he sleeps. I think he just plugs himself in at night because I've never seen him tired. I've never seen him in a bad mood. I've never seen him not funny. It's just that he's a robot.
Nothing but respect for the guy, and even so, I mean, well, because you know him not just in working with him, but it's just like, I mean, he's a person that he genuinely cares. You know,
he do.
I'm so proud to be a part of that show, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be doing this because I'm sure my viewers know already that I originally was I was interviewed on Nutmeg Chatter, and then I had a guest for him. He goes, well, why don't you interview him? And then after that, he goes, Rich, you want to take over the show because I really want to concentrate on Nutmeg Junction. So yeah, I'll take over. And because of that, that led to this. And so I am loving what I'm doing now. And Joe is so great that he takes the audio of my shows, mine and Weibo shows, and puts it on WAPJ. So it's still, I'm still on the radio station, but I get to do it through Zoom, which I love. So I have the best of both worlds.
So it's always good, and it's kind of neat to see it progressing and see where it's going to go from here. But
because I know I knew he was going to take it some places. I had no idea in 5 years it was going to be a worldwide phenomenon, like New Zealand, as I keep saying. I can't remember the different countries we're in. And every time we get these long 5-page emails of all the things that we've accomplished over the last and I always say, Joe, congratulations. He goes, no, not congratulate me. It's all of us. So I mean, he's so modest too. That's what makes him so great too. There's not an ounce of ego in this guy. Like he always never takes credit for anything. We'll say, nope, it's a team effort. It's like, no, Joe, it's really you. No. So I
and always looking, you say, oh, who else wants to do some writing? Who wants to direct? Who wants to do this? So although, I mean, I don't know where he gets those ideas for some of those stories.
Well, it's great for people who don't know what Nutmeg Junction is. It's pays homage to the old radio serials like Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, War of the Worlds, things like that. But they're all original stories. And I love what he does is he'll take, like he did. I played Edgar Allan Poe a couple times, but when you read the stories, they're funny. But there's so much historical fiction that he takes obscure facts. I mean, so I don't know how much research he does on these stories before he writes it, or he just is naturally intelligent on these subjects. But they're very, very witty. And if you look deeper into the stories, you realize how true some of these things are in an exaggerated way.
No, it is. I mean, he just seems so natural at it. That's the thing, But it's also, I think he gets fulfillment, he gets pleasure out of it. Just like we've been talking about you with comedy, with music. It's like he is. I think he's getting to where he's always wanted to be in some ways. Like I said, he's done his cartooning. And he's always made ways to use it in some way, shape, or form. And now with this, he's always like, like I said, oh, do you want to write? Yes, you. But it's like, again, his stories is like, why don't you just keep doing it, Joe?
It's funny you say that.
It's nice of you to offer, but you're doing a really good job with it.
We like how it's going, Joe. We want to keep it the way it's going. Well, I mentioned that we have this on YouTube, and I also have the radio. You also have a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I do. It's out there. It's got my name. It is like some of it. I think it was just started off as RC Fullerton, all crunched together, and it was mostly stuff. And that's the other thing. Once you start releasing music, particularly the people that I work through, is like they also release a video that is just usually the album artwork or the song artwork and the music, but they're all out there. So if people just put in, you got to use that Robert C. Fullerton, and you'll find me anywhere, whether it's Actually, my webpage is robertcfullerton.com. If you're using any of the streaming media, Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, put that in there. Yeah, there are a bunch of Robert Fullertons out there, but you put that C in there, and usually that's going to bring you back to me. So,
Just saying, as an outsider, the rest are pale imitations. Here's the real Robert Fullerton, Robert C. Fullerton, right here.
yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you've ever done a search on your name and come up with stuff, but it's like, yeah, oh, wow, some interesting Robert Fullertons out there,
Oh yeah, no. When I type in Rich Sayre, I become very afraid. Like, who the hell is that? What? And I have to scroll down 3 pages. Oh, there I am.
Mass murderer. No.
We're hiding.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, it was so great to have you on the show. I'm so glad that I finally had a chance.
This has been fun.
Yeah, I loved it. But we have to end with a song, though. We started with a song. We have to end with a song.
Finish up.
Okay, hold on. Let me plug everything back in. I unplugged it so it wouldn't buzz.
Glad we had a chance to have a great conversation where there was no time limit. We could just go on as long as we want or as short as we want.
Okay, so let's see if I get sound. Oh, there we got sound, right?
Great to me.
All right, put a little capo on it. This song, this is again, sometimes my attempts at humor. I think they're funny, but about a year or so ago, I had been thinking, and I actually bought a book of Emily Dickinson poems. I thought, maybe I'll just put some of her poems to music, go back to kind of some stuff I used to do. And as is habit, I said, yeah, she lived in, what was it? I think the early to mid 1800s. She's been dead a while, but just out of curiosity, let me just check and make sure her work's not under copyright, because I don't want to pay that extra money.
I hear you.
And sure enough, I looked and I started researching. It's like, what? Wait a minute. Yeah, she's been dead. She's been gone a long time. So her work, she's not claiming it. But there are people who did later editions, and they're claiming copyright. And I thought, that's not right.
Yeah, be careful.
So I wrote this song, and it's called "To Emily Dickinson with My Sincerest Apologies." Well, even though poor Emily's dead, you have to pay if you want her poems read out loud to a crowd any time of day or night. That's called copyright to some stranger allowed. We don't know if she'd want it that way, 'cause she's no longer here to say if she wants to be the source of income to someone who's not family. And so I'm here to sing you a song about Emily Dickinson. But I won't be quoting her poems, 'cause they're not free. For when I sing you my song about Emily Dickinson, wanna make sure all the money comes back to me. Yes, I'm here to sing you a song about Emily Dickinson. But I won't be quoting her poems, 'cause they're not free. For when I sing you my song about Emily Dickinson, I want to make sure all the money comes back to me.
Love it.
Hey,
Ladies and gentlemen,
Good job,
Robert C. Fullerton.
that's right.
You are the real deal. So remember,
Thank you.
go listen, download his music online or buy it. Make sure Ed McMahon stays at #1. We got to keep that going.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, I've got a kind of race going in my mind to see which song is going to kind of bump him out of there.
All right.
and
Well, you
a
know what?
couple are getting close, so, you know.
So one last time before you go, that was a great song. I think it's hilarious. That is a great attempt at humor. And I know humor. But
Thank you.
where can people find you? I know you said Spotify. What's your website again?
robertcfullerton.com.
Yes,
And,
well,
you
that's
know,
easy
it's got
enough.
my shows. It's got a little bio. It's got links. It's got some video clips. And, yeah.
Oh.
As long as they remember Robert Fullerton and stick that C right there in the middle of it, you know.
See, right in the middle.
That's right. That's right.
Just remember, everybody, you have to see Robert Fullerton in concert. Tell you will not be disappointed. I also want to thank you very much for being on the Local Artist Show. It was a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. And,
Thanks, Rob.
it sounds good. It's good to see you. Good to see you guys.
You
Hopefully
too.
soon out in public
Thanks a lot.
again. Yeah.
Most definitely.
All right.
All right. Well,
Sounds
that
good.
wraps up the latest episode of Rich and Wibo present the Local Artist Show. A huge thanks goes out to guitarist, singer, keyboardist, songwriter, and voice actor Robert C. Fullerton. Make sure to buy his music and see him live. You will definitely not be disappointed. We would also like to thank John Bristol of Elmwood Productions for always doing a superb job editing the show each and every
Thanks,
week.
John.
And last, but definitely not least, I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in every night. Enjoy your day, everyone.
See ya.
From the frenetic mind of author Rich Sear. 5 terrifying short stories, now available in one collection. Confessions of a Frenetic Mind. 5 tales of blood-curdling terror, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
All of a sudden I hear, brim, brim. What's a diaphragm again?
Ha! We caught one.
They're supposed to be weird.
Oh, yeah, no. If you say so.
I've always wanted to be in a movie.